Good evening, everybody. How's it going? It's currently Thursday, May 16th, and welcome to another installment of Scott's Tennis Selections. I know, before we actually get into the play of the day and before we recap what happened yesterday, a couple of announcements for all of you. In addition to the tennis play, I will be uploading my usual StatSalt video sometime in the next hour, but Scott Steen is actually not going to be able to make it for his winners and whiners video for the weekend, as it is currently his son's graduation, so he will be busy attending that. So I will also be covering the Deep 3 in his place for winners and whiners for the next couple of days. So stay tuned for that as well, as I will now be uploading 3 videos each day for the next couple of days instead of the usual 2. Other than that, briefly, as I've mentioned in previous videos, we ended up getting sponsored by PointsBet, but I actually did not mention any of their products in the morning show. Sorry, still getting used to it. So, but either or, it's time for me to just mention quickly something about their product. So they're an online sports book that is based in New Jersey, and they're offering a series of lines. And I'm going to mention some of the free options or some of the promos that they have for you. And some of them are that the first 2 bets you have are risk-free up to $1,000. So if you end up betting $800, for example, on anything and you end up winning, you get both. But if you end up losing, then you get your money back. So it's a great deal for first-time users. Not to mention the fact that they also have an NBA playoffs deal where if you have a money line bet and your team is winning after 3 quarters, you instantly get paid out and you do not have to wait for the 4th quarter. It would have applied tonight with the Trailblazers if they were actually able to hold on to their lead, but they ended up blowing the entire thing and they ended up tying. It ended up being tied after 3, so that didn't apply. But if Portland was up 1, you could have avoided the potential collapse for a huge moneyline payout. So that's something to keep in mind. They also had a golf promo, but that has already ended as the PGA Championship has already started. And they have an NHL playoff deal in which if the team you bet on leads by 2 goals, then you win. So you don't even have to wait till the end of the game. The team can lose as long as they're up by 2 goals at any point. You win. But those are the deals. I'm going to be leaving some promo codes that did in the previous videos for PointsBet, as well as a link to the promo in the description. So if you were more interested in that, but I highly recommend considering it as a book if you are from the New Jersey area, because it seems they have a lot of great deals, and I've definitely seen a lot of users on Twitter speak highly about it, and I would personally have an account there if I was in New Jersey. But either or, time to dive into the play of the day from yesterday or 2 days ago. We ended up not having a video yesterday because of the fact that all the matches in Rome ended up getting delayed. So I didn't really have any new matches to talk about. But the play that we ended up suggesting was on Kohlschreiber over 12 games, which was available at -125 on 5 dimes. That ended up pushing, as Kohlschreiber ended up winning in straight sets 6-3, 6-3. So if you ended up betting it, you got your money back. So that's actually our first push in the tennis selections, but a push is always better than a loss, and that will carry us into the matchups today. Overall, very difficult card to find some value on. You have Schwartzman, Nishikori as the early match, Verdasco and Nadal, 2 longtime Spaniards who played each other multiple times, close matches typically. But they're playing, then you have Tsitsipas and Federer, and then you have Djokovic versus Del Potro. And the match we will be looking at here is going to be on the Tsitsipas and Federer match. And we are actually going to be taking Tsitsipas -1.5 games here at -110 available at Pinnacle. Now, I know at first glance people are going to say, wait a second, you're going up against the greatest player of all time, and you're betting against him. And the answer is yes. I am, and the main reason is because of the fact that Federer and Tsitsipas both had to play 2 matches yesterday because of the rainout on the 15th. So Tsitsipas was able to coast 2 easy wins over Sinner and Fognini, beat 2 Italians, 6-3, 6-2, and 6-4, 6-3. Wasn't on the court that long. Meanwhile, Federer had to beat Souza, 6-4, 6-3, and then he had an epic match against Coric in the following round, in which he lost the first set 6-2, won the second set 6-4, was down 6-4 in the breaker, and then ended up coming back to win the tiebreaker 9-7. So Federer, definitely impressive that he was able to pull out that win, but he was on the court a long time yesterday, and he probably shouldn't even be in the spot in the first place. And Tsitsipas, a lot of issues that people have with playing against Roger Federer, betting against Roger Federer, is the intimidation factor. You know, Federer is the greatest player of all time, some players are either step up to the moment or they crumble. Tsitsipas has already beaten Federer earlier this year, as he ended up beating him in 4 sets in this year's Australian Open. So Federer is definitely not. So Tsitsipas is definitely not intimidated by Federer. He did end up losing to Federer in Dubai, but here Tsitsipas has looked great in Rome. Federer's looked a little bit inconsistent here. In terms of the over in this match, I do think this will go to 3 sets. But for me, Federer, I wouldn't be surprised if Tsitsipas just rolls here. The fact that Federer is an underdog makes me very skeptical of his ability to cover in this match. And Federer is also really old. He's getting up there in years. And after playing an epic match against Coric, in which he was on the court for 2 hours and 31 minutes, not to mention the fact that he had a match a couple hours prior to that, while Tsitsipas was able to finish his matches relatively easily. I think there's a reason why Tsitsipas is roughly a minus 140 favorite market wide, and I think that minus 1.5 games makes a lot of sense, as Tsitsipas is a quality server. And Federer actually struggled with his serve against Coric in the last match, was able to hold a serve a decent amount of the time, but he ended up giving up 8 break points, and the fact that he only won 63% of his first serve points is a little bit concerning to me, especially with the way that Tsitsipas is able to return. So for me, I would lean to Tsitsipas minus 1.5, and I would also lean to the over here. I'm a little bit skeptical of the over because I don't want to assume that Federer is going to lose in straight sets, but Federer might just be exhausted, and Tsitsipas just beat Nadal in Madrid, and he also is currently rolling in Rome. So I would not be surprised to see Tsitsipas break Federer a couple of times and win this game win this match, I should say, relatively convincingly. But just in case, we will go with the minus 1.5 games, which is available at minus 110 on Pinnacle. Now, moving on to the rest of the betting card. In terms of the other matches, I lean to the over 2.5 sets in Schwartzman and Nishikori. Both players played 2 matches yesterday. Nishikori had a tough 3-set win over Struff, but I think that Schwartzman will benefit from the extra rest. Destroyed Ramos Vinolas, destroyed Berrettini. Meanwhile, Nishikori had an easy match against Fritz, but a difficult match against Struff. In terms of extra value, I'd look to Nishikori winning in 3 sets because I think this match will be close. But for me, I would personally look towards the over there in either games or just the Nishikori winning 2 sets to 1 for extra value. Props to you, CR. That's definitely a hell of a prop that you had there. Basilashvili is definitely an inconsistent player. Very solid, but his strokes can get a little bit wild at times, and Nadal loves to keep the ball in play. So that's definitely a very solid cash for you. Congrats on that. Basilashvili had a couple of game points on his serve, but he wasn't able to close it out. And Nadal has looked like the clay court master that we are accustomed to him seeing, with the exception of the Tsitsipas match in the last tournament that he was in Madrid. But either or, Verdasco versus Nadal. I'm actually going to lean to Verdasco with the spread here. I think Nadal will win the match, obviously, but at the same point, Verdasco has historically given Nadal more trouble than most players have been able to, and I think this spread is relatively high. Verdasco's coming off a tough 3-set win over Kakanov, but these players know each other really well. Verdasco's also a tremendous clay court player. I think that Nadal will easily win the match, but in terms of 6.5 games right now, I'd have to lean to Verdasco. So I would lean to that. Yep, Jamal, you were right about that one with Portland. That game was definitely close. Portland came out firing, and I definitely did not think Portland would score 29 points in the first quarter with Lillard scoring 0. Lillard definitely shrunk. McCollum was solid for about 3 quarters. Steph Curry's brother, Seth Curry, made some big shots, and Myers Leonard was great. I still think that Zach Collins is one of the most useless players in the league, as he played about 8 minutes and committed 5 fouls. I don't think he's great. Yeah, I'm going into that as well. For that match, I'm going to be leaning towards Verdasco plus the 6.5 and the over, because I think Verdasco will be able to make this match relatively competitive before Nadal ends up smacking him. So I think I will lean to Verdasco on the spread in that one. I mentioned the Tsitsipas and Federer match for the play of the day. Moving on, you have the final match between Novak Djokovic and Juan Martín Del Potro. The spread is 5 in this match. For me, I'd have to lean to Djokovic here. I personally love Del Potro as a player, but he has not, for me, looked, I'd say, amazing in this tournament. He struggled a bit against Ruud. He was great against Goffin in his match before that, but Djokovic has dropped a total of 7 games in the first 2 matches, and he was against Kohlschreiber and he was against Shapovalov. 2 quality players. Kohlschreiber was rolling. We ended up pushing with him yesterday. I had a personal cash on Kohlschreiber first set at roughly plus 108, which was a nice cash for me. But for me, Djokovic has owned Del Potro in recent years, and I simply think that Djokovic looks like he is absolutely rolling here. So I think that he will be ready to roll, and I think Djokovic should win this match somewhere in the realm of 6-4, 6-2. I think it'll be close, but Djokovic looks dialed in, and Djokovic, as of right now, looks probably like the best clay court player or the second best with Nadal. I said that was team a couple of weeks ago, but I think Djokovic, especially after beating him heads up in Madrid, has definitely taken over that number 2 player on clay spot right now. And Del Potro is still coming back from injury, so I personally think that Djokovic, although Del Potro has looked good in the first 2 rounds, Djokovic has owned the head-to-head 13-3, and I think that Djokovic will win relatively easily. So I will go Djokovic 6-2, 6-4. Or if you want a potentially safer play, Djokovic minus 1.5 sets, whatever price that is available. I simply just don't see Del Potro winning a set against Djokovic, who looks absolutely dialed in leading up to the French Open. So I will lean there. In 5-dime, Djokovic minus winning 2-0 in sets is minus 170. You chop around, I still think that he will cover the spread. But either or. Now, in the past couple of videos, I have been giving out women's tennis play, like leans, very small leans, nothing really major. If you have been backing them, and so far they have been decent, but overall I'm not really fully confident in women's tennis. But just to look at the matches for tomorrow, I would lean to Azarenka and Pliskova over, as I think that will end up going 3 sets between those 2 players. Just a small lean, not really something that I've really looked that much into, but Azarenka and Pliskova are both solid on clay. Pliskova is a top 10 player, and Azarenka has been working her way back from injury, but she has been a Grand Slam winner and a top 10 player for the majority of her career. So I personally lean to the over in that match as well. Other than that, that's going to do it for this installment of Scott's tennis selections here for Thursday, May 16th. As I said before, I will be uploading the usual video in about an hour or so, and I am going to be doing the winners and whiners deep 3 instead of Scott Steen for the next couple of days, as he is attending his son's graduation. So stay tuned for those videos, and the other one will be posted on the Winners and Whiners YouTube page. Other than that, I will see all of you in about an hour. So a quick question, actually, by CR. Do I like the match results and the total bets? For me, I'm more of a total better instead of spreads, because you could easily just have one player start out slow, and I feel like it's easier to predict how close a match is going to be in terms of totals rather than spreads, because of the fact that you also have a tiebreaker potential in order to cover a potential, bet. But for me, my logic for tennis is if you see a spread that's somewhere in the realm of like +2, I say from +2.5 down to about +1, I would just recommend taking the money line. I think you have better value on that. There is a potential that the guy you bet on wins a set 6-2 and he loses a set 7-5. But either or, odds are if you end up covering the +2, you'll win the match outright. And I think you get more of a plus value for there. Honestly, CR, I do it all. It's kind of just wherever I see value. But I don't want this video to take too long. So with that being said, I will see all of you in about an hour. See you.